Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with a former world champion Terran in the blue. It's Micro Jackson, ByuN, facing off against his greatest nemesis, the rank 1 Protoss of the world in the red. We have Hero in a best of 5 Terran versus Protoss Finals to another Monday night weekly cup tournament. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button or maybe even subscribe. And we kind of the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy. 1,887 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know why I'd do anything else with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully, it's about to get just a little bit better. As the probe comes in and will not be going out anywhere but the unit's lost tab. As ByuN snipes it down, doesn't send the Reaper directly across the map. Hero clearly intending to slip in behind it, but his devious ways do not pay dividends this time around. Though it was suspicious. Of course, probes always are. Hero's probes exponentially more so. But not just the probes, but the Stalker to follow it up. Hero already across the map, and 2 Reapers on the way for ByuN, which will be enough to deal with the Stalker eventually. But right now, that doesn't save the SCV that was building the command center. That doesn't help him get a better economy. And it certainly doesn't help with any intentions of scouting across the map as the Stalker goes round and round and the Reaper's finally coming down. The SCV... No. A recall. He gets the Stalker out of there immediately. I think suspecting that there might be more than just Marines coming out of the barracks. But either way, immediate recall. And it was actually one of the games between these two that fixed the bug where the Reaper grenade could bounce units out of the recall animation. All right, that happened not once, but I believe twice to Hero versus ByuN. I'm not saying that ByuN got the Reaper nerfed a 3rd time now. But in some ways, you could argue that. I won't go so far, but this is the internet, so feel free after you like and subscribe. Robo on the way, Blink, a more standard follow-up, but with Stalkers being built so incredibly quickly. It appears, even though Hero has Warp Gate done, he is still just going to be building out of raw gateways with that 50% production speed increase, which is before Chrono Boost, of course. And speaking of speed, ByuN is just going straight to Hyper Shees. Banshee's speed is on the way as a starter, not as a desperation move, not as a follow-up to Cloak. I guess if you move fast enough, they can't hit you, which is kind of accurate, but... Well, certainly, and that means he more than likely wants fighting Banshees. Banshees that can join the fray and aren't too worried about whether or not there's Cloak. Banshees do a incredible amount of damage. It's just usually you only see 1 or 2. Or even worse, you don't see 1 or 2. Just pretend that was profound. But the Banshees with speed, being able to pull units out of position and then rejoin on the front lines, is certainly quite a threat. In fact, he's hiding the Banshees in the corner, so even if a hallucinated Phoenix came screaming through here, all you can see is the Tech Lab upgrading, and 94.3% repeating, of course. That's going to be Cloak. But the moment you see the Banshees with their fancy afterburners, which have the extra animation, and, of course, how fast they are, well, you know. And the reason waiting for 2 Banshees is that means shield batteries are pretty much invalidated, as shield batteries cannot reshield probes in time to stop the Banshees from just killing them. Taking the scenic route, the much less traveled path, literally along the edge of the very literally creepy map. This is like an infested space station or something, but no Zergs here today. Stalkers with Blink, undercutting the push out with ByuN going through the... What? Okay. Is he allowed to be in here? Well, I don't see anyone else stopping him. Shut up, dude. I don't know. Hero just blinks all the way into the main. 5 SCVs dead. The Banshees are revealed. The attack at the front, a recall of the Stalkers, A single siege tank comes out. The Banshees scream by into the main. The push is falling back. A few probes will go down to the Hypershees, and they will just fly away. Now, okay, so this is a bit of a dilemma. Hero doesn't know for sure there's no cloak. Though, he doesn't have an observer. Okay, he does have an observer. You can just keep an eye on those Banshees, who are actually entirely safe indefinitely at this point. As long as ByuN doesn't have nearly the addiction to the Select All Army hotkey that Hero almost certainly does. So, ByuN with the 2 Banshees at the back and the siege tanks back at home should have more than enough to defend any sort of direct attack. That's never necessarily stopped Hero before, but this is one of the most defensible maps in the map pool. Lockdown, aptly named, as you have a ramp up to the natural, and your 3rd and 4th base are relatively easily defensible. 2 forges on the way. A Colossus is already completed, though Hero has yet to extend his thermal lance. All right, there you go. Catching up to the rest of us. The Reapers actually rack up a couple probe kills. Nothing like overkill in this. Oh, come on. I thought he was going to escape for a moment. Maybe the Reaper did as well, but... Extended thermal lance on the way. The rocks, I'm not sure. I assume Hero took these down to potentially delay the push. But as time goes on, you don't want to be caught between a rock and a hard place. When siege tanks are involved, almost any sort of terrain is usually better for the Terran, as the surface area for your melee laser sword units, colloquially known as zealots, and literally, and by everyone, the tighter the space, the harder it is for them to get into, which is just common wisdom and something the Terrans follow on a regular basis. The scan looking for observers. The observer not being found, though it's almost implied. He knows it's out there. And now he knows he's taking it out. But does ByuN move out? I don't think so. He's already spotted that Colossi are the choice. That Hero is surprisingly passive at this stage. But attacking into a Terran who's just been building up siege tanks and is clearly behind on economy is, even for Hero, maybe a bit of a tall order. So even though he's ordered the tallest units in the game, that doesn't mean he's going to stop there. There's a Templar Archives on the way. And Jimmy, can we... What do you mean? Yes. Could it be Storm? It seems likely. But with Hero, almost impossible to predict. Oh, sure, and also a Stargate. Why not? +1 air weapons is on the way. 2 forges spun up, and now already working on 2-2. ByuN, concussive shell, +2 infantry weapons. Looks like we're going to have a full-on macro game. And by that, I mean they're going to sit in their base to 200 supply and probably most of the tech tree. And for those of you with your Prima strategy guide back at home, it's probably outdated. But still, most of the important point supply. As a Ghost Academy is on the way for ByuN. All we're missing from Hero is a fleet beacon. As 2 more Stargates on the way, joining a dozen gateways in the main. The gate strategy. An oracle to keep track of the army. Much more reliable in many ways than an observer. Of course, unreliable in others. A scan, as the zealots are just moving around like it's some sort of patrol on a campaign mission. Which, that may be the inspiration. Hero, ByuN, is tucked into his base. Whereas Hero knows the map is dark and full of Terrans. And he's lighting it up however he can. Spylons, observers, zealots, probes. All of the above. As Hero is making sure nothing gets out of ByuN's base without him at least having an eye on it. Maybe 2. Or whatever it is pylons have. It's a metaphor. Carrier. Okay. Even Hero thinking that's a bit optimistic. Tempest on the way. Tempest much more reliable than carriers. Mass carrier can sometimes be the ticket. Sometimes. But if you go carriers and you don't have the critical mass, the old adage of, what do you do when they get 12 carriers? And the answer being, well, don't let them get 12 carriers. But I think in this day and age, with Ghosts and Vikings, Tempest might be directly countered by Vikings, but enough of them can pick off so many of ByuN's units before they close the distance. And Hero actually has less workers. Barely. Full macro game. ByuN has mined 3,000 less minerals and 400 less gas so far. But as the CC count continues to grow, and the mules continue to drop, I think that will even out at the very least. Mothership is 3/4 of the way done. The chicken pox of Hero's units still across the map. The Banshee! I don't know why I said it. The Banshee. Yes. Gimme, edit that out. I know. And Probe trying to slap down a Nexus. There's just pylons scattered throughout. And remember, with the new warp gate changes, there's no such thing as super and non-super pylons, or the technical term warp conduit and non-warp conduit pylons. All pylons and warp prisms warp in at over 4 seconds, which is half a second slower than they did with the quick pylons before. Not exactly ideal Oracle usage, but it is 8 seconds faster nearly than slow pylons did. So just a single pylon is an existential threat that can bring in a cinematic of units. I mean, you saw the Legacy of the Void trailer. Meanwhile, the Tempests are shelling. The Mothership is here. Gonna at least force out some scans. With that single revelation just before the Oracle flew into a Widowmine, it gave the Tempest the vision to keep up the range advantage against the Vikings. But without that, the Vikings get a lot closer, as the Tempest can shoot a lot further, technically, than they can see. So not having the vision means you lose most of that range advantage. Meanwhile, Stalkers over to the right side. Not much to contest it. A planetary fortress of Widowmine deterring any further activities, but Hero, not one easily pushed away. A single Stalker, the rest, go get him. Well, one Stalker, an order of magnitude better than none. Another pylon taken out. 3-3 done on the ground. The rocks are dropped. And actually the Tempest and then opened up again. Well, okay, Oracle. Another Oracle comes out as the Tempests are working their way through. Ship weapons, but the Stalkers blink forward. He has a revelation on some of the buildings nearby, which means he has an idea of where those Vikings are, even if he hasn't been able to tag them with the Oracle. Hero with more Nexi on the way, but ByuN still with more workers, which gives Hero an army supply advantage. But the planetary fortress doing its best job to distract them. The Mothership, time warp is good. It lets it survive another volley, finally knocked out of the sky. The shields strip away a huge chunk of the effective HP of the army. But Hero, well, there's a fusion core and a nuclear missile on the way for ByuN. No additional Ghost Academies yet, but Hero putting together his full battery pack like he's going on vacation. He's got a Game Boy Color, which he might be old enough for. But the Vikings engaging directly without the shields. The Tempests are knocked out of the sky. The Vikings gonna topple the Colossi. And ByuN with the obscenely effective Terran army in the right place at the right time. And you know the historical and practical counter to Vikings is Storm. But it appears that our weather forecast was incorrect. No storm, but triple Raptors on the way. The mass shield battery to fall back to. That's certainly one way to potentially counter Ghosts. Energy for energy. And that's so many shield batteries. He's using this as a forward operating battery itself. But Hero lost a lot of Tempest in that fight. Over to the right side, the Probe looking scornfully at the planetary fortress. Meanwhile, still no revelation. Hero continually losing a... how many Oracles so far? Just 2. But without revelation, it gets an order of magnitude harder. That's rude. There goes the Probe. An order of magnitude harder to use the Tempest effectively. We got Caduceus Reactor on the way. Oh, Disruptor shot! Double kill on the Tempest. Another shot clips a Marauder. But the disruptors underneath. Meanwhile, all of these gateway units, but the planetary fortress, only a few SCVs pulled off to repair, which may actually cost him the planetary. But a huge chunk of the stalkers as well. Hero moving in, knocks out another couple. Disruptor shot underneath. A very technical army from either side. And an incredibly deadly one. Because if the EMPs land and the Vikings are in position, then the Bio army can just crush through. But at the same time, if the disruptors get a couple good hits, the Vikings are caught out. And Hero is able to retreat with the Ruptors. Then ByuN's army may dissipate in seconds. Another ship is on the way. Another chunk of gateway units warped into the north. He's going to hit the once and future planetary. But now 3 command centers there. 300 minerals apiece. That means he buys 3, get 1 free. That's how it works. That's just science. All right. Ask my mom about things on sale when she watches TV. Yes, TV advertisements. There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that. What I'm trying to say is it's time to like and subscribe. Make the difference in your life. Subscribe today. The next 5 seconds will be even more amazing, and we'll even bring back the game. Thank you, Jimmy. I know. Liberators of the Venn diagram of freedom. Hero continually trying to batter down the defenses, and ByuN continually holding them. Looking be unbreakable so far. Hero has lost only 1,600 more resources, only a couple hundred more gas. It's 5 bases to the rest of them. Quite literally, Hero has taken every other base on the map. He's got 8 Nexi with a 9th in production. That mass shield battery. ByuN stims. As a matter of principle. Finally, Hero makes it through the rocks and a bit of a choke point. The rest of the army is tied up to the north side. Another command center going to be targeted. The Vikings, another shot around the corner. Many of the disruptors on cooldown, but warming right back up. Around both corners. Throwing curveballs everywhere. And another wave with a mothership for mass recall. Trying to reposition the entire army, but it's going to be a double planetary defense. As the Marauders out in front, active cloaking. Needs to make sure he has a scan with this fight. And there's also, of course, the missile turrets. Fires off a salvo. Down goes 1 planetary. Down goes the mothership. Colossus brought low. And the supply for Hero joining it. Every single disruptor is on cooldown. With that new graphic that we can see very obviously. And right now, ByuN is just tearing through every important unit. But some less critical ones are warped in to defend. 7 SCVs dead. The planetary fortress obliterated. But ByuN, I think a decisive victory in that fight. He took down almost every unit that doesn't come out of a gateway or a warp gate. A single disruptor survived the engagement. But multiple colossi, a mothership, and several tempests, as well as disruptors taken down. Meanwhile, the army is recalled over to the right side and another massive warp in. Hero with 13 warp gates. The Zealots getting on top of the planetary fortress, but not targeting the SCVs. ByuN uses stop position to keep them busy. And actually, the Sim City here will once again stall Hero for long enough. And the double planetary defense is more than enough. A scan to the main. I'm not sure what sort of tech switch he's looking for. Maybe if he's going carriers or Tempest. Hero obliterates half a dozen of his own Zealots, and even more than that of the SCVs. The Stalkers blinking forward, both planetaries falling, but not quite dead yet. One taken out, but the Venn diagram of freedom. ByuN, with liberation at hand, will be able to hold the base yet again. But this time, I think serious damage was done. 18 SCVs dead. ByuN is mined out of the main. The Tempest enough to drive back the Liberators. He has tectonic destabilizers for almost double building damage. Meanwhile, the EMPs, Vikings will knock out the Tempest. The Bio army looking good. Is there detection for the Cloak Ghost? It's unclear. There should be plenty of detection for the Mothership with 7 orbital commands. The Time Warp catches at the edge of the army. Gonna deter the rest from going any further forward. The Blink Stalkers still continuing to duel on the field. And ByuN trying to push forward. Smelling an opportunity, potentially, to take out this base, and with it, all those defenses. He still has a nuclear missile in the bank, but here we go. As the Liberators, Disruptor shot warded away. Half The batteries are depowered as an Artosis-flavored pylon is targeted and destroyed. But ByuN is striking back with an army that is incredibly cost-effective as Hero scrambles through different sorts of unit compositions to try to figure out how to answer this. But right now, ByuN is just asking too many questions. Depowers another dozen batteries. The Tempest over to the north side. ByuN has to reposition. More Liberators, more Vikings, and enough bio underneath to pull them away. Fires off a volley of disruptor shots. The planetary holds for now. The Tempest, it's not enough. What a save! Holds the line. Not enough anti-air. Stalkers blink forward. Knock another Viking out. But the bio will chase. There's no splash damage. There's nothing to stop the Terrans. The disruptors are dead. A double kill to finish them off. The Vikings chase and knock out another Tempest. Plus 3-2 Vikings is just 3 too much. Meanwhile, a single Tempest fighting a single Liberator while Marauders run around underneath because they have nothing else they can do about tilt me over. Hero modding from the bottom right. But ByuN still again trying to hold the 12 o'clock. And this anchor, this fulcrum of the strategy is where Hero will fight. And if he does, I think it's very likely he will die. I think he agrees with that assessment. The recall. Mass recall from the mothership. The bases are scanned. Hero is mostly mined out. That gas almost gone, actually, as Hero has now lost 13,000 more resources, including 2,500 more gas. But the Tempest, the Golden Armada, shield stripped away, but the mothership eating some shots as well. The Time Warp is good, but the Vikings, I think, are better. And the army underneath. No storms to stop it. No splash damage whatsoever. But the army is stimming. And in autumn colors, it's getting more and more dangerous for it to chase. But ByuN is going to try to strike while the shields are down. Both sides bruised in one way or another. Picks up into the medevacs. An optimistic move as the ghosts get caught on the wrong side of history. Cut down by the charge lots and obliterated by the Tempest as Hero turns things around yet again. The Liberator trying to back him up. Another Colossus in production. He's abandoned the Disruptors yet again, as the Liberators are just too good at zoning them out. Has not attempted... He built a Templar Archives and has done nothing with it, as clearly his gas is heavily invested in the Skytoss army. Meanwhile, the Planetary will be annihilated before the Liberators can even siege, but the Orbital Command still mining for now. The bottom right corner. The probes are pulled to defend, which is optimistic at best. The Tempest in a single volley easily destroying any of these starport units. The problem is just one sometimes. One of the biggest issues with Tempest is overkill, which doesn't sound like such a bad thing until you have 12 Tempest balls slamming into a single Viking at half HP, which is not the most effective use of their DPS. Still, though, Hero has most of the rest of the map, but has yet to be able to break ByuN. And is that even the objective anymore? Nuclear launch detected! ByuN! The most dramatic way to move forward. He cancels the nuke. Certainly an emotional force field, at the very least. Hero backs off. His army, 131 army supply. He's down to 50 probes. So he doesn't have that many places to mine from anymore. The Tempest still chasing. Stalkers blinking yet again. Charge lots. Charging. But Hero can't seem to close the distance. He's lost 20 Tempests, 50 Stalkers, 3 motherships. 52 Vikings have gone down, as well as 11 Liberators. And yet another ship is on the way. And Hero's playing this war of attrition. Who's the Zerg now? His army is 44 Zealots. 4 Tempests, picks off some more. Trying to just outlast the Terrans, which is a titanic endeavor. And we're going to find out soon whether he can sink or swim. A bit of a disputed parking space down the center as Hero tries once again to take the Nexus. He's successful, technically. But ByuN takes it out and frees up a spot for his orbital command to land. And while Hero has had the income lead for most of the last 10 minutes, besides a few mule valleys, if he's able to mine from this base for more than a minute or two, it could be an absolute disaster. The Zealots, like a wave streaming over the corner, takes out the Sentry with Guardian Shield. The Bio Ball is not being broken. He's cutting through some of the front lines, but the SCVs are pulled as well. The Zealots are gunned down. The Vikings hit the deck, and so does Hero's Supply. He fought on this hill, and he absolutely, utterly died there. 49 Zealots dead. 6,000 minerals and 700 gas to just 2,800 and 1,000. It was not enough. Hero sets his sights to the northern base yet again and finds it completely undefended. He took out the planetary earlier, but the mules drop and the income gap flips. Hero is almost entirely mined out of his current bases. ByuN is mining out of what Hero once wanted. And if Hero couldn't get it done before, ByuN's Supply is not looking to be unstoppable at the moment. But he's no longer the underdog. But yet another mothership, a mass recall, and he uses it to flip to the other side. The Vikings fighting on the ground. The reinforcements are stimming across, but they're still a long way off. The mothership adding to the damage. It's not over yet, as ByuN desperately needs this. This is all of his income. He has pretty much no more minerals. A single bio drop. Hero still has one base behind this. Through all the fire and fury, almost every base outside of the center has been mined out. The EMP, the Vikings, the fade away, the volley takes down the fourth mothership of the game. And I fear the last. The Vikings, he knocks out the observer. There's no detection for the ghosts. Some of them running out of energy, but they're adding their damage. The SCVs could be pulled. It's Viking Ghost with whatever reinforcements are trickling out of the barracks. He warps in High Templar. It is 29 minutes in. He's had a Templar archives for somewhere in the realm of 15, maybe 20 minutes. But I think it's way too little, and it's likely too late. But the Archons at the 11th hour are enough to turn this around, but partially because the bio on the other side, it's coming down to the wire. Hero still surviving by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth. ByuN desperately, but much more confidently mining. And if Hero couldn't do it with 3-4 more bases, ByuN making sure he's not missing anything, then there's still 8 orbital commands. The base is fully saturated by mules. Hero is still mining from a single base of his own. The Archons added in. The break in case of emergency, but the boys are pulled. Their work mostly replaced by automation at this point. And an EMP. The shield stripped away from most of the Archons. And the Marines and Marauders handle the rest. ByuN survives game number 1. Hero. He takes the whole map and throws wave after wave like a direct strike game at ByuN. But he chose to hold on to his Templar until it was too little. And it was too late. 4 motherships, 24 Tempests, 72 Vikings to challenge them. But ByuN holds and takes game number 1. Feels like today's challenge was do not use Templar until the 30-minute mark, which Hero may have cheated a bit. I think it was 29, but now, of course, Templar are also vulnerable to ghosts. Like, what Protoss unit isn't? That's not the point. Okay. But exclusively so, because even a single or 2 EMPs are usually more than enough to negate both High Templar and Archons. So it takes 2 or 3 to really soften them up. Hero. Tide goes in, tide goes out. Can't explain that. But you can probably explain it better than Hero's long-term strategy. Even if you're Hero. And he couldn't... Well, it was almost... In fact, it was almost more Zerg-like than Zerg nowadays. With Hero switching between the end game, like the Fleet Beacon sort of strategy with Tempest and Oracles, back into the mass ground army. Because as ByuN focuses more and more on anti-Tempest, more and more Vikings, then he becomes more vulnerable to Zealots and Disruptors. But... one of the most Hero games. Is ByuN NG Bay blocking? It does seem so. Trying to sneak past where the probe scout would go, but Hero has not probe scouted this time. I never know. I haven't noticed a trend, because sometimes on the exact same map, in back-to-back series, like Hero versus ByuN, on Monday and then on Tuesday, he will probe scout at the beginning of the game on this map, and then next time he won't probe scout at all. Maybe that's the point. Maybe the unpredictability is a feature, not a bug. A Zealot is on the way. The probe going down. Hero is building a Zealot because in this exact scenario, you let the Zealot finish. Otherwise, as long as it hasn't completed yet, you can cancel it for all your money back. Alright. Hero just gonna chop his way through and takes the third. No harm, no foul. The engineering bay is canceled as Hero clearly undeterred. And the Zealot will be escorted home by the SCV. Didn't ask for it, but here we are. Reaper. As the Zealot will menacingly walk forward and now trudge its way back. A Stalker is prancing its way out, and tell me it doesn't prance. That is 100% prance. I will brook no argument. But the Stalker prances forward, protecting the Zealot. Don't talk to me or my son ever again. Metaphorically, of course. We grow like plants. I don't. Anyways, Stalker walks up, takes a look around. Marines. ByuN did build a ByuNker, but the rest of the tech is pretty easily spotted. The only thing he's missing is the factory, which is quite a big piece of the puzzle, to be fair. The fact that there's a bunker and an orbital command on the way already give you a pretty good gauge of how far along ByuN is or isn't on the tech tree. It can't be that aggressive, as he spent, well, 300 minerals on the command center. Buy one bunker free. Twilight Council. Bunker is salvaged. Wait, okay. I glossed over this in my inane commentary. Hero canceled the Nexus at the third after ByuN canceled the engineering bay. Wow, I can't believe it took me this long to... And then he rebuilt it at the natural. So, he literally just outbluffed ByuN there. Because if ByuN had left the engineering bay for another 15 seconds, Hero probably would have committed to the Nexus at the third. I have to assume it was done about immediately after the Reaper was driven out. So, a Widowmine drop is on the way. A hallucinated Phoenix, really wishing it was real right now. And then maybe immediately after, happy it wasn't. The Stalker's moving to intercept. Blink is only halfway done. But the medevac, it does have boost. A few more shots, but where are you going to go? Another shot, targeting the Widowmine, trying to save the day. The chase is on, but, well, Hero, boost in 1 second. And bro. Sometimes you just... You ever had one of those days? Well, hopefully we made it a little bit better. Hallucinated probes used to trigger the Widow Mines, which is actually the most efficient since hallucinated probes you can build 4. Whenever you hallucinate probes, it hallucinates 4 probes. The same is true with Zealots and Stalkers. You hallucinate 2 of them. Usually you don't go with those units. You want air units for scouting, but in this specific scenario, the probes can help out a lot with dealing with multiple Widowmines. Speaking of, the Widowmine actually ends up getting a shot after all those trials and tribulations. He did end up, obviously ended up losing the medevac, but we saw that lack of motivation. It was still very confusing, but a Raven, Blink is done, but Hero clearly intending on, again, a bit more macro-oriented play. At least for now. Stim, combat shield +1, triple threat begun. Raven sneaking around the outside, around the outside as it makes its way towards the main. Maybe slap down an auto turret or 2. And there's nothing, he recalls immediately. The Blink, well, the Raven, ByuN with some lackadaisical micro in these air units today, but 3 probes dead, and just the simple fact that he recalled all these Stalkers opens up the map, and he can move out. A not-so-charged lot will amble its way across, serving its purpose of scouting. The Zerg rocks, the last vestiges of Zerg, removed. We're working on it. Cyril's still going. Siege tanks will politely, violently, and firmly ask the Stalkers to leave. Robo Bay on the way. How many gates? 6 gates. Building directly out of them. Should have... The boys! ByuN with a 2-base push. And the timing is good. +1 attack might be done, but Hero is still a long way off any form of splash damage. Hallucinated Colossus. Fool me once, and I won't be fooled again. ByuN stimming forward, not intimidated. And Hero used a lot of energy on that hallucination. The SCVs are cut down. The sentries left behind as the Stalkers blink back. The Forge will be taken out. And the Robo itself could be depowered or even destroyed. And Hero does not have that much left behind. He pulls the probes. A very awkward angle takes out one of the siege tanks, trying to drag in the Widowmine. That might be enough. The fact that the Widowmine shot didn't connect almost gets the tank. He gets it at the last second, but at what cost? More Zealots coming down. 19 probes dead. And Hero holds all of the tech. Oh yeah, here's the new damaged animation, by the way. And ByuN. I don't know if he slapped down some more auto turrets. He did not. In fact, well, ByuN's reinforcements stimming across the map. Widowmine connects. Knocks out some of the Zealots. It's +1 attack on either side. Stunner stepping back. Concussive Shell helping out a lot against these Zealots. But the medevacs, a couple very low on energy. Autumn colors again. The warp gates, he's still just building out of gates, so trickling those units out means he can't bring them to the field quite as quickly. But they pop out even more so. Hero 42 probes, ByuN 34 SCVs, Raven knocked out of the sky. And that Colossus is real, and I think ByuN believes him. He's trying to stem his way forward, microing with the medevacs to dodge the Colossus damage. But it's not enough. He ends up losing 2 of the medevacs. Dropped into the pool as ByuN driven back, but the Widowmine slams in. The single Colossus, though, adding enough damage to keep ByuN from continuing forward. Guardian Shield, 3 sentries, Force Field. Again, the emotional support field at least is there to make the Protoss feel a little bit better about themselves. The Colossus was buffed to do slightly more base damage, 12 instead of 10, and have slightly less bonus to light. So it does the same damage against Marines, but slightly more against Marauders, which I'm not saying that's the major factor here, but this sort of game rests on the edge of a knife. And if the intern strays but a little, it could swing it. ByuN does enough damage. He killed every probe at the Naturalist hero. By far the voted most likely to get his probes killed on the front lines. But also voted most likely to win a tournament as Protoss by a very large margin, especially recently. So, I'm not saying your probe should be sent into the meat grinder. I'm saying you probably need some industrial recycler or something, because I don't think they have meat. I hope they can feel pain, though. Or Prism. Loads up some charge loss. Extended Thermal Lance just now started. The economy for both sides has been hamstrung, to say the least. But Hero had 3 Nexi to fall back on. He still had all his production, and the fact that ByuN didn't take out the Forge, nor the Robo Bay, nor the Robo, despite the fact that all 3 of those were directly at the front, is incredibly important for Hero, and may be the defining characteristic of this game. Of course, this game could easily go another 25 minutes and end in a base trade, so as ByuN has enough economy left over, and enough army supply right now, that he could find himself in a very similar scenario, where he does some economic damage to Hero? As long to... If you go over 16, it's illegal. It turns red. I'm not fighting this battle today. Meanwhile, the Warp Prism. Limiting ByuN's options. He's caught in purgatory. He's in the very center of the map. The SCV's just sitting there. Oh, no. Literally doing nothing. Oh. Hero just stun-locked him. The boys were pre-pulled, but now 2 hallucinated Colossi. He has to know those aren't real, but it works. It works perfectly. He's able to survive an extra volley because of the hallucinated Colossus. The Zealot's coming to the forefront. The Biomall is still rolling through. Saves a Colossus, but the Disruptor has joined the field. Fires off a shot ByuN. Beautiful split, actually. What a great spread. I can't believe it's not butter. But he still has the Colossus and the Prism. Gets a few more shots off. Loses the Prism at the last second, but wins the game. Hero ties things up 1-1. Oof. Another topsy-turvy, dramatic game between these two who've had literally hundreds over the years. I don't know if we passed 1,000 official tournament games, but it's got to be close. Hero manages to scrape by a victory. And honestly, ByuN feeling... Did he need to pull the boys? Did he need to go all in? Has need ever factored into these two game... These... What are words? Jimmy, just... If I say many word, when no word do trick. Like, subscribe. Hero probe scouting at the beginning of the game. He scouted the horizontal position first. This map you cannot spawn in close vertical. Is a 4-player map, but limited to cross and horizontal. Limits the full RNG, but still means that they are the maximum distance from each other. Though I'm sure they'll close it soon enough. You never know, like, especially with Hero. But Hero versus ByuN is, of course, as always, like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Last time these two faced, Hero did like 3 proxy gates and won the entire series in, what, 14 minutes? We already had a game that was nearly 3 times that. So, that is both the best and worst part of scheduling StarCraft 2 tournament. You could have a best of 7 that lasts 20 minutes, like Maru versus Zest. Or you could have a best of 3 that's an hour and a half, like ByuN versus half of his... Oh my god, the probe! Got a kill! Oh, sweet Tassadar. Wow. And Hero with the proxy, I'm gonna say Stargate follow-up. Off of Probius. The Bloodthirsty. You can't be doing that, all right? You can't just be letting the probe in, getting and having it kill. You can't do that. Did the Reaper not see the probe? Oh my. The plot armor that Hero's probes have is just... Last game, Hero won because he pulled the probes into the fight. And they all died, but he still won the game. You know what he didn't do in game number 1? Not really. He never fought with the probes. I mean, except in super dumb situations as opposed to kind of contested ones. An Oracle first. Not the Void Ray style that Hero has been dabbling in lately, though it doesn't rule it out. The Adept gonna tap the SCV 3 times, which kills it. That was the intent. The Adept, he lets it in, but it's important to know... Wow. Hero just... Okay, well this is very bad for ByuN. He has no anti-air. There's an Oracle in his mineral line. So, SCVs take 3 hits, as do Marines. And there's a Cyclone coming out, but the actual limiting factor is how much energy the Oracle has. They have a preset kill limit, the Oracle, and once they reach it, or once they run out of energy, then they can no longer slaughter every single one of your workers. Now, of course, Reapers and Hellions have no such restrictions, as they don't run out of ammo. And until they run out of HP, you're in danger. But 2 Adepts are the danger. Wait, no, you don't win that, right? Right? Right. Okay. Probes get another kill. Honestly, Probes may have 9 SCVs dead. 3 Reapers, a Hellion, a Marine. Just reading the units lost tab. Well, whatever. It's for our blind viewers out there. Shout out to our blind viewers, of course. Kind of have to. So, like and subscribe somehow. Cyclones. A strong counter to Stargate units, but this is kind of a locking the barn door after the flying laser horse flew in and murdered all of the normal, hard-working blue mineral horses. So, one of those situations, which is always uncomfortable whenever you come to it. Hopefully not too often. Another rack's on the way. So ByuN is now in a very... bleh. Jimmy, a lot of editing today. Situation. 3 Cyclones are very good. They're also nothing. 3 Cyclones could win the game if he knows exactly where and what Hero's doing. But since that's almost impossible because of what Hero has already done, he just has to sit in his base. And as time goes on, the Cyclones are less and less useful. They're inversely proportional to unit count, because if you have 3 Cyclones against 7 units, pretty much half their army is almost guaranteed to die if they attack in. But now, well, this is not like this does not work. By the way, if Hero attacks in, he will lose everything. With the exception of, I guess, if he hallucinates units or something. He does have Warp Gate. That's taste. What's that? You want to go check it out, Billy? Very shiny, Sarge. Well, that one Marine might be the only one that survives out of all this. A near full energy sentry. Hero, still building out of gates, rattling across. Link is on the way. The Marine is taken out. The Adept kind of forgot to cancel the shade. But, things are certainly coming to a middle now. As ByuN does not have a starport. But Hero is filling in a 3rd Nexus. And he doesn't have that much army. The triple lock will knock out the Stalker and actually survives with all the clones. There's still 2 Oracles waiting for their moment. The starport is finally in production. As Hero, well, things are spreading out now. As Hero takes the 3rd base, he throws down Spylons all throughout the map. Just probes hanging out, Oracle's still in position. Whereas ByuN pulls it back towards that more expected trajectory. The stim, the combat shield, the +1 infantry weapons. Marines, Marauders, Medevacs on the way. Knocks out another Stalker with a triple clone combo. Stasis wards dotting the field. Also good for scouting. On top of their actual value as stasis wards. And Hero just building up back at home. There's this inflection point for Terran, which is usually the moment the upgrades finish. Their strongest point for the foreseeable future, which is also when Protoss is oftentimes weakest, which makes sense, but before you get splash damage, once there's enough bio with stim and basic upgrades, it just becomes so cost-effective if you don't have splash damage yourself. But the proxy Stargate will be scouted, but it will also scout the medevac in turn, or medevacs in turn. Words are really hard today. Pylons, he picks up. Revelation, of course. And the Stalker's doing what they do best, just not good enough to chase it down. Stalking, of course. Yet another stasis. Third command center on the way is ByuN. I think learned his lesson last game about pulling the boys and just going all in for the sake of it. It was a worthy attempt, but I think Hero anticipated it. Honestly, it was so close to winning. How many more stasis? None on the direct path at the moment. He's gonna have one on the high ground. Hero. Hero just goes around. Yeah, that was always an option. And he can recall... Oh, this is just a disaster. Okay. He can get into the main and force field the ramp, which would be highly amusing. Some zealots are warped in. He cuts down. And not a bad trade at all. Is Hero going to go all the way into the main? It's a little late now, to be honest. Emotional support field. But ByuN, 17 SCVs dead. Can recall. He may just recall the Stalkers here. As the Zealots charge into glorious battle. And will survive it. As Hero just kind of rug pulls ByuN. It takes 2 in a row. ByuN takes a step outside, and Hero just stabs him in the back. Repeatedly with his little laser swords. And ByuN just not even gonna bother. Which, yeah, it's not getting any easier. The proxy Stargate, fully successful. At no point did it look like ByuN had a real shot of moving out of his base. And the moment he tried, Hero, well, I don't need to recount the last 2 minutes for you. But, if you are back, well, now's a perfect time to like, maybe even subscribe. We're going on 300,000 subscribers. Which, would be great if everybody showed up for each video. That's not how YouTube works, alright? That's not how Al Gore's rhythm handles things. But, thank you for watching. Hopefully, it makes your days a little bit better. I see a lot of positive comments and significantly less negative ones, but because of how the internet works, they stick out in your mind. Good and bad. But thank you very much. I don't respond necessarily directly because I'm lazy. But I do appreciate it. Thank you. And we don't let Jimmy respond because we know how the words work. Maybe occasionally, but... Match point. but so far defined by whether or not ByuN is able to get 3 bases before Hero pulls some dramatic shenanigans. We will see. Can't believe he killed an SCV with a probe. Well, multiple technically, but that's not supposed to happen. All right. Reminds me of the mind-blowing idea back in like 2011 where Huck pulled 2 probes to harass SCVs. And players just could not figure it out until somebody was like, what if we just pulled 2 SCVs to counter them? But that was like a month it took to figure that out, so. But the probes regenerate their shields. But technically in a 1v1, the SCV does win the fight. It has 45 HP against 40 HP of the probe. 20 shields and 20 HP. But of course, manipulating those shields is how they find that effectiveness. Reaper. The respect that ByuN has, / the fear of Hero. In fact, the Reaper, I think it may have just barely missed the probe last game. And on a 4-player map, it's significantly harder to narrow down the options for proxies. But ByuN was very close to seeing the probe that placed down the Stargate near his base. And we could be looking at a very different series right now if that was the case. But unfortunately for ByuN, he did not find until the Oracle had already murdered half of his mineral line. So, a robotics facility first for Hero. Well, the Reaper, Hellion with 2 HP left over. Going to be sent home to repair. Stalker coming out. The Adept just caught in the trees down the center. And the mind games between these two. The fact that we've had 3 games so far, over 10 minutes. Well, that means we're due. What? I swear Heroes units have more range when they smell blood. And Protoss probably have a great sense of smell, since they don't have taste. Which is why Tasteless plays Protoss, obviously. But I digress. Snipes off the Reaper. I'm not sure if that pylon was expected to block, but it is Heroes. I'm pretty sure if you place it in the right spot, it does actually block. Which explains why it didn't here. I think it's just off the spot. Don't know. There's something to be said for just letting it... Like the argument that Hero intentionally doesn't wall in Protoss versus Zerg. He lets the Zerglings in to kill a third of his workers in order to make sure he can eventually kill them. Which, you know, sometimes works out. Things just seem to work out for him. But that Forrest Gumpian school of Protoss who don't necessarily build good. It's as I've repeated, and I want to continue to. Hero actually seems to enjoy playing StarCraft. It's crazy, right? Like occasionally, I think you can tell how tired he is in certain tournaments by how generic his builds are too. Like, he does have his fallbacks, but many of these weekly tournaments, I don't believe this one, but start at like 5 or 6 a.m. Korean time. And on some days, you'll see Hero literally in the finals, maybe probably winning a tournament at like 6 a.m. Korean time. And then the same day, technically, at least for Korea, at like 5 p.m. and then again at 11 p.m. Like, depending on the tournament, but he's there, all right? He lives StarCraft. And ByuN as well, to be fair. I think ByuN and Hero are the top 2 by activity in tournaments. Well, maybe there are more, but you have to do well in order to have a lot of activity in tournaments. That's kind of how the whole thing works. Other players might show up, but not for nearly as long. If you know what I mean. Well, Hero now has... I was too busy doing meta commentary instead of wondering whatever meta this is. An Immortal and a Warp Prism with charge on the way. Hero's going like Immortal Charge Lot, which is a much more direct way of dealing with any tank push. I think likely the intent here. As ByuN moved out and then immediately moved back on seeing the Immortal. Decided that sitting in his base is probably a... will at least extend his life expectancy at this stage. He's right about that. More Immortals. There's a Robo-Bay on the way. The Hellion will technically get the scout. I think he should have been able to click on it. Not too surprising. The only question now is whether he pulls the boys. As he scouted the Robo-Bay on the way. He knows Colossi are just over a minute out, at least from the scout. So he's not pulling the boys, he's adding a third command center. Which tells you the trajectory he wants to take. That doesn't necessarily preclude pulling the boys, but it certainly makes it less likely. And charge is done. The Warp Prism just casually slides in as the Observer is taken out, but there should be enough to deal with this. The Widow Mines. A couple Marauders are eviscerated, and Hero just refuses to elaborate further. Chops through the supply depot. Didn't like the way it was looking at him. To be fair, anything looking at him would not be ideal. ByuN actually supply blocked off that. We'll add to the supply depot he has in the back quarter of his natural. Meanwhile, a full energy Raven. Hero clearly waiting for it to drop some auto turrets so he can cut them apart. Blink is on the way. Extended thermal lance plus 2 ground weapons. But ByuN has quite a strong army moving out. A 4th base is definitely optimistic, I think, for Hero here. But that supply block and its reverberating consequences. There's not that many units left at home. Enough to deal with the Zealots for now. But the attack itself is spotted. The Nexus, that's just not that many units from Hero. A single Colossus without thermal lance. Well, without extended thermal lance for a few more seconds. Hero just kind of trickling in. The auto turrets are slapped out moments before. Here comes the Warp Prism, gonna drop out the Zealots. Bashes through the Siege tank, but the Immortals help it out dramatically. He picks up, and the Medivacs will get away for now. Blink just finished. Hero now aware of... Oh, no! Whoa, the slows! It's a disaster, and he's double blinking with the Prism! Oh, ByuN! Oh, it's a disaster. He loses 2 full/near full Medivacs on the retreat. And the flight path was clearly risky. It cost him. Now there's 2 Colossi. There's a bunch of charge slots. The Widow Mine's doing terrible, terrible damage, but there's only 2 Vikings. The Immortal's helping to bash through. Juggles out of a Viking salvo. Technically, you can dodge every shot from the Vikings. Practically less likely, but... So Hero holds on to his 4th. He knocks out the critical mass of Bio. Takes out a couple Medivacs. Delays the Vikings. And now he's going to have +2 attack. Things are definitely tilting his way. As ByuN looking a little tilted right now. 145 to 120 supply. He has not been able to delay any of Hero's tech. He has not been able to fortify his 3rd base. He doesn't have the army. He doesn't have the upgrades. The Warp Prism in the main. The classic 1-2. Remarkably straightforward. But there's no real chance of ByuN going back. Anti-armor missile helps out. Vikings will knock it down. Main base being gutted by Zealots. So even if ByuN wins this battle, it's unlikely he can win the war. Ghosts are popping out. A couple more Zealots warping in. The SCVs... 11 SCVs dead. ByuN down 20 supply. The Vikings looking to intercept the Warp Prism, which would be the very start of a long road. He needs to come back. There's no armory. There's no hope of additional upgrades. Hero has done the damage. He's got Warp Prism speed on the way. There are 3 Colossi. And +2 ground weapons, with +3 ground weapons being chrono boosted along. ByuN just puts together whatever he has. He's going to send it forward. He does have ghosts, which significantly increased the danger of this army. The fact he had anti-armor missile before was incredibly helpful. But the numbers don't lie. And I think they may spell disaster for ByuN. Caught between a rock and a hard place, and Hero just jumps him. Stays in the game a few more seconds to make sure he can watch all the Terrans be incinerated, which I kind of love. But GG. Hero, after a dramatic game 1, takes 3 in a row in about the same amount of time, as ByuN increasingly desperate against Hero's decisive plays. Well, another great series between these two, though a not too unexpected outcome. Hopefully either way, it made your day at least a little bit better. And if you got the means and motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership, but I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our top tier patrons. We're working with the name because super pylons no longer exist in the game, so that's not it. Big Jig and Jack Road, Devin, Door, Mag1, Mario P, and Sasquatch. Glad you still enjoy. And everyone, make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.